This so contradicts what every society regards as normality that it's not easy to maintain. It's not an easy gospel. It's not a popular gospel. And those who follow that teaching, and more importantly, that lifestyle of Jesus himself, right down through the ages, have experienced what the early Christians experienced: rejection. And when the church has tried to popularize itself, to be part of the feel-good society, where all is well and we always smile because we do not face up to the evil of the world, when that sort of church claims to be a reflection of Jesus, that is blasphemous, because that is a refusal to look life in the face as it really is, a refusal to look into ourselves as we really are. It's a tough gospel. There is nothing sentimental about love. And yet love is something we do understand, even though it's a mystery. In the end, there is nothing else that matters. All the theological debates throughout Christian history pale into insignificance in the face of the simplicity and at the same time the complexity of what love actually is. Love one another as I have loved you. That, in fact, is the whole gospel. St. Augustine, in one of his writings, actually sums it all up in Latin, as he wrote in Latin: ama et fac quod vis. Love, and for the rest, do what you like. Because if you are a loving person with that light of God within you, then what you like to do will be loving. You don't have to ask a lot of questions. You just have to live it. That is the whole gospel, the whole good news. It's as simple and as complex as that. And yesterday we spent with the complexity. We had to ask ourselves, is there a way we can share with our fellow human beings, most of whom are not Christians, the reality that love can be translated into the politics, the common life of this world, just as it has to be translated into our personal relationships, into the life of every family. And then we begin to see what all the problems are. Is it possible that the human family might get to the point where we don't go to war with each other, we don't kill each other anymore? Perhaps we're on the way there. We know that we shouldn't do that to each other individually. In fact, we get punished if we do. If we get violent with each other in our family, and there's a lot of that. If we get violent with each other in our street and in our city, and there's enough of that. then we deplore it. We pass laws against it. We employ a police force to try to stop it. But we haven't learnt that on the collective scale. And there, if we have grievances, nation against nation, religion against religion, tribe against tribe, we take pride in destroying the other side, in war of one kind or another. And we make heroes of those who do it on our behalf, and who often die themselves in the process. Can we put an end to that? Like we've tried and more or less succeeded in putting an end to slavery, which most societies took for granted for centuries, and even the same St. Paul took for granted as being the way things are. We've seen the light on that issue, more or less. Can we see the light that will enable us to live in a peaceful world? The truth of the matter is, if we can't, we're not likely to survive as a human race, given the technological power to destroy that we now have. So I think the teaching of Jesus to love our enemies is not high idealism, though it is an ideal. It is ultimate realism. It is the way of serving one another. It is true security. And in fact, even the military have a word for it. In the years of the Cold War, when, if things had gone wrong, we might have totally wiped each other out, it was realized that we needed security and called it common security. We needed to take away the fear of the other. And so we had elaborate political machinery, telephone systems to remain in communication with the supposed enemy, to make sure they haven't misunderstood our intentions, and they have to make sure we haven't misunderstood theirs. And so the peace in a complex machinery was actually kept, because we recognize that fear is the trigger to violence. And Jesus says, perfect love casts out fear. So how can we build love into the political structures? It's no easy task, but it's necessary for the welfare, for the common good of the whole human family, and is reduced again and again in the end to the simple reality that if we love one another as Jesus loves us, and exclude no one, anywhere from that process, then we can live in a different kind of world. Then our minds have been renewed. As St. Paul says, they have to be. Love is a mystery. No intellectual explanation will help us to understand it. It has to be rooted in our hearts and rooted in our minds. It is an intellectual challenge, and it's an emotional challenge to each of us individually and to the community in which we live.